How did that one coworker get fired? Story 1. He was a general manager, and it was painfully obvious he wasn't paying attention to any of the finance reports I was sending him. To test my theory, 1 month when margins slumped, I noted the reason as poor cost control by local management. He never said a thing, but his superiors caught on. As he was investigated for support to fire him, we found out he was having an affair with an employee of our main client and had given them all access to our offices. There was graphic CCTV footage of our offices being used as their love shack. He also had bogus company expenses and had misused his company car, using it to run a side hustle and not so much for our company's business. Story 2. Guy had a job at a medical device company where he was supposed to be putting an anti-clotting coating on some of the products. He realized that he was basically unsupervised to do his work the entire day, so he eventually started a routine where he would clock in at the start of his shift, leave the building to do whatever else, come back at the end of the shift, just move all the products he was supposed to have coated from the in pile to the finished pile without actually coating them, and then clock out and go home. I know he was immediately fired when he was caught, and a bunch more security cameras went in to make sure nobody else tried something similar, but since it caused a major medical recall, I bet he got hit with a hefty lawsuit to boot. Story 3. I fired him. He brought a grocery bag into the store with his weed pipe and his grinder in it, then tried to keep it in the walk-in refrigerator. I smoke too, so I told him we wouldn't have a problem if he could just have someone come pick it up from the store or put it outside somewhere. Seriously, I didn't care. He still did his work, and I didn't know it was there until I saw it with my own 2 eyes. He threw a literal fit, so I told him I'd write him up. He got even more mad, so I told him to clock out and go home for the day. Then he threatened to beat my ass, so I fired him. Story 4. I was working at a casino several years ago, and there was this really weird guy that we worked with. Socially awkward as all hell. Something about this dude always rubbed me the wrong way. I just always felt a touch uneasy around him and never knew why. I chalked it up to him just being a really odd guy and my lack of patience for his odd sense of humor. One day, I am the pit boss, and I see him sitting at one of our blackjack tables, and his phone is out. Red flag in the casino world. Before I can even start to walk over there, it looks like he raised it and took a pic of a female dealer's butt. She is dealing a table on the opposite side of the pit, faced the opposite way from him. I stop for a second, then I call surveillance and tell them what I think I just saw. They say they will investigate, and I don't hear back from them before the end of my shift. I forgot about it like 30 minutes later anyway, and went about my day. 3 days later, I am pulled into a meeting with my boss, his boss, and ownership. They tell me that I was right, and what I thought he was doing. They thanked me for being vigilant and bringing it to their attention. They didn't go into a ton of detail, but they said that he admitted to it and more when they confronted him. They said he had done this to several other of the female employees and even showed them the evidence. He was terminated and trespassed from the property, obviously. I haven't seen him since, and that's just fine with me. Story 5. The new guy who just didn't seem to care. He would show up to work with 2 tablets and 2 cell phones. We were pretty sure he had a side hustle he was running on the clock. He would disappear and not tell us where he was going. One day, the CEO walked in asking for help, IT, and the guy was sleeping at his desk. We quietly woke him up, and when the CEO left the room, he asked us who was that. Everyone on the team was supposed to take turns training him. The day I tried to train him, he was too busy playing a game on his tablet. He would also show up an hour late to work every day and act like it was no big deal. After 2 months of documenting and complaining to our boss, he was finally fired. The dude was straight up crying like a little kid and acted like he didn't see it coming when my boss has several meetings with him about his performance, and he ignored it. Story 6. Accidentally emailed a steamy conversation between him and a female coworker to the entire company. This is also how he got divorced. Story 7. Complete idiot of a repair tech punched a customer because they insisted on him signing a vendor log, then bragged about it. Security flew in from the home office, watched the video, and went to collect his belongings. Boss hired the kid of his church's pastor. This kid did nothing. We'd catch him saying he changed parts he hadn't. Caught him posting live on Facebook for a cooking contest while on the clock, using his van as his personal vehicle. He took 3 months off for an internship without telling anyone beforehand and got away with charging 40 hours a week the whole time. Came back for 2 months, then decided he was taking our 3 busiest weeks off to study for exams. Was told no and no-showed anyway. They finally fired him. Worst part is he was using a company scholarship to go to school. They pulled it, delaying his graduation by a year. He had the nerve to ask me for a reference. Story 8. This was over 20 years ago. Older black guy, like mid-50s, was always nice to everyone, dressed to the nines, drove a Jaguar. Bunch of guys in suits came into the office and went right to the manager's office. After a few minutes, the manager and the men in suits walked over to his cubicle. The men asked him to stand up, turn around, and place his hands behind his back. He was cuffed and led off of the floor into a black SUV. We came to find out that when he was in the Marines, he stole the identity of his fellow Marines. That Marine lived abroad, and when he came back to the States, he found out his identity was being used for years. Story 9. Flight attendant. Passenger upset because they ran out of her meal choice. Him. Ma'am, I said we've run out of chicken, not fuel. Calm the f*** down. Story 10. Guy in his mid to late 50s, married with kids and grandkids. He was having an affair with a 16-year-old high school girl and told her he was going to take her to Hawaii to get married. Her parents caught her packing her clothes and she told them what was going on. It turns out he had been using his work computer to contact her, and all the evidence was on his hard drive. The police came in one morning and carted him out in handcuffs in front of everyone and confiscated his PC. Dude gets out of jail in a couple months. Story 11. Worked in a call center doing tech support. Dude was already iffy on the support he was giving and had made some questionable comments and jokes to customers before. But he had been with the company for years already, and if he had straightened out, his job would have been safe. The final straw was when he answered a call, and instead of our normal greeting, he said, "Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order?" And the customer hung up. I assume he was doing it to make his new office friend laugh. All of his calls were being audited at that time, so I don't know what possessed him to do that. He was walked out within an hour. It was right before Christmas and his wife had just had a baby too. Really crazy and stupid. Story 12. We were working in a small startup in North America. I was a pretty fresh hire, and Stan, who had been there for a couple of years, had a chip on his shoulder about how vital he was to the company and threw me under the bus anytime he could. In spite of my youth, it wasn't my first rodeo with weird coworkers, so I just kept my head down, did my job, kept the boss happy. Stan liked to have nice, shiny things. He really liked to show off his nice, shiny things. I was a poor 20-something, and our boss wore jeans and a flannel to client meetings. We were not exactly the best choices for discussions about fashion. Regardless, Stan loved to talk to us about his collection of bespoke suits from Hong Kong. I've never been and don't own any suits, so I really can't confirm or deny this, but Stan insisted it was cheaper to fly to Hong Kong and have custom suits made from scratch than to buy local and have them tailored. I figured he knew what he was talking about, and he was our sales guy, so it didn't hurt to entertain him when he wanted to chat about clothing. What I didn't figure was that Stan would get a great deal on a plane ticket to Hong Kong. Only let our boss know he needed days off with a phone call from the plane just before takeoff, and missed a big client meeting that he was supposed to be running. I honestly thought this was just his creative way of quitting. To my surprise, he showed up on Monday acting like everything was normal, with no mention of or apology for the missed client meeting. I've never seen such a shocked face as his when our boss told him he was being dismissed immediately. It's still my favorite workplace experience of fuck around and find out. Thanks for watching. We upload every day, so make sure to like and subscribe. Have a great day and see you in the next one.